You're watching Gamescom Studio on IGN. Double Fine is the studio that gave us Psychonauts, Brutal Legend, and Broken Age, and this fall you can add Keeper to the list. Here to shed some light on this topic, I'm joined by CEO, game designer, and occasional and current beard haver, Tim Schafer. What's up, Tim?
Hello from me and my beard.
It's a good beard. Okay, so you're making a game about a lighthouse. This is not a protagonist I feel like we see a lot of.
No, but you can sense that society is demanding it.
Yeah.
It's in the zeitgeist. I've seen like 3 lighthouse tattoos today.
It's a cool building, you know?
Everybody wants lighthouses.
I want to know how this game sort of came to be. It's Lee Petty, longtime Double Fine designer, is behind this, and you've spoken about how, you know, this sort of inspiration came to him. He was like hiking during COVID. It's sort of, you know, a very surrealist collaborative process of bringing it together. I want to know, what was the pitch process like for going, hey, we're making a game about a lighthouse? Like, when did that sort of come to a head there?
It was a natural evolution as Lee was experimenting. He was very inspired by surrealist painters, and also their methods for making things is often kind of a strange mechanical creativity prompting. And he was doing that, messing around with Unreal and trying all these different types of settings, and the lighthouse just emerged out of that as if in a dream.
That's cool. Yeah, it is very surrealist.
He also was, we're talking about what he wanted to do next, and part of it was when he just joined the Xbox family, and we're like, what could we have never done before? What could we, now that we have the support and the creative freedom and don't have to go pitch a publisher on a game, what could we, and he's like, I want to get really weird.
It's certainly really weird. I mean, it's bizarre because, like, surrealist art, you think it's kind of, you know, relegated to modern art museums, but Mario's surrealist. Like,
yeah.
It's got mushrooms and giant shoes and all sorts of stuff like that. I want to talk about the gameplay, though, because Double Fine always makes games that are visually unique. They're always eye-grabbing, but they're also mechanically, you know, interesting. They've got fun little novelties and weird ways to interact with them. What's the basic gameplay loop here?
Well, it is an adventure game. It's got light adventure game puzzles. It's really about atmospheric, just being in this place and having what Lee calls a weird but chill experience. Yeah, much
chill.
like himself. The lighthouse, when it comes to life, has a companion named Twig. There's a seabird that sits on this little hat. They are companions throughout the game. They walk through the environments and they'll encounter puzzles that you can interact with through one of 3 ways. The lighthouse has a beam that can cast out across the landscape, make flowers come to life and burn away other things, and then it has a focus beam that can make real transformations happen in the environment. And then those might expose points in the world for the seabird Twig to land on, so you can send out your bird to land and maybe pull up a route or turn a lever or interact and solve puzzles that way.
Cool. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's really impressive. Aside from surrealist artists, what were some other influences? Because I feel like it's got, like, the Twig kind of reminds me of Kevin from Up, that bird, and then like the little bit of Howl's Moving Castle energy to the lighthouse. Like, was there anything else that you guys were looking for that kind of like wanted to put in the DNA?
Yeah, I mean, there's a long list of the things that have gone into Lee's mind. Growing up with movies like The Dark Crystal and things that are like really unique and kind of creepy, but also not super crazy violent or anything like that. But, you know, Lee is also inspired by David Cronenberg films, David Lynch films, which have kind of a, you never know what's going to happen next, what bizarre imagery you're going to see, but also it's not random. There's a feeling that it's familiar, almost like a dream, and it makes sense in a way that it doesn't make sense. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I mean, I assume there is going to be something, there's going to be a story here. We're going to piece together what's happening, but it's nonverbal. There's no dialogue, correct?
There's not a line of dialogue in the game. There's barely any HUD, just a few button prompts at the very beginning to get you going. The lighthouse is immediately drawn to this mountaintop that they see with this sort of a beacon up there that calls to the lighthouse and has this quest-like feel to get to the top of the mountaintop. And it's all sold through just the acting of Twig, the bird, and the lighthouse, which you can look and it seems like it has a face, even though it's a lighthouse, you know? And the bird itself is very expressive. You always know what Twig is feeling.
Now, Double Fine turned 25 this year, is that right?
Yeah.
That's wild. What do you think, aside from the sort of the support you've gotten from the larger Microsoft family, what do you think Keeper demonstrates that really shows how much Double Fine has grown as a studio?
Well, it's obviously really gorgeous, but it's very technically advanced. You can see we're using Unreal 5, but also a lot of custom rendering techniques have been added on top of that to achieve the special visual style that Lee wanted to do. So it's come a long way to make even though it's not a long gameplay experience, this is, we estimate like 6 to 8 hours of gameplay. That sounds like 68. I meant 6.
6 to 8, okay.
Correct. But it is within that time, a very deep and high fidelity kind of AAA experience, you know?
Nice. Did you do any real world lighthouse research where they're like, did you go out with cameras? And
Yeah, Lee and I lived for an entire year in a lighthouse alone, and I was wondering how long I could talk about that with keeping a straight face.
I think I saw that movie.
Yeah, you saw that movie? Yeah, they made a whole movie about it. I haven't seen it yet, but it got a little weird, but very inspiring, you know. Couldn't do it without that experience.
What are some other sort of creatures we're going to encounter in Keeper?
There's a whole myriad of, really bizarre but cute but strange, small creatures, but also very, very large creatures you interact with. And they're mostly pretty friendly, but there's also peril in the game, although there's no way for the player to die or fail. There's no like reset or violence in the game. You just like Lee says, a weird but chill experience that you move through and solve puzzles, but don't really combat anything.
Okay, not a cozy game, but not quite a horror game, like somewhere.
That is a strange thing about it, is that it's not like a hyper-violent shooter or anything like that, but it's also not like something that looks like it's for kids. You know what I mean? It's like it's got a certain weird but chill.
Kids could play it though, yeah? Is it?
Yeah. But there's something unnerving about it also.
I think it's important to frighten children a little bit with media. I think it really helps, you know, you get, again, stuff like Dark Crystal.
You got to keep them paying attention.
It's formative years.
Lock in, kids.
What's the music like?
Oh, it's beautiful. Dave Earl, the composer, has done Lee's last 2 games, Headlander and Rad, and it's just really evocative because there's so much more space because there's no dialogue in the game. It's all emotionally told through the animation, through the art, through the visuals, and through the music, and
Nice.
the sound design in general.
Were there any like rejected ideas that didn't make it in here, or like anything you were trying to do with it that just kind of sort of bounced off of?
Just my writing. I was like, hey Lee, what about some dialogue? He's like, nope.
The Lighthouse should shout here. This is a good place for
well, I've been trying to get him the Lighthouse to be like, I'm too old for this shit, but no.
But really, were you ever trying? Did you ever consider dialogue in it?
No. I mean, that's something that I think we just start. We're trying to solve problems creatively. We all have a set of tools. Mine is writing. Oh, I'll solve that with it's cutscene. And Lee's is more about visuals. So that's how he took it on.
Have you, like, when you're playtesting it, have you ever seen any points where, like, you know what the story is you're telling, you know what the game is going to be prompting players to do? Have there been points where you're just like, people just don't get it and you have to sort of retool things?
Well, it's pretty, you can see that the camera is on a spline following the character, so it's pretty, we can really focus in on what you need to see. So it's hard to like get lost in this world. But we also have the help of, Xbox has a user research group that we can just send builds up there and watch people play it, and they can tell us where anyone gets stuck. So that's a helpful resource we didn't have before.
That's like one of the things that, you benefit from under the larger umbrella. I don't want to make you feel old, but you've been making games
My knees do that on their own.
Fair. You've been making games for a really, really long time. I guess I'm curious, what is something that you learned early on that has remained true just about game development? I guess, life advice could work too. But something you learned early on about like how to make games that is still something you're like, yep, that's how it is.
Yeah, I mean, I learned a lot working for 10 years at LucasArts, making adventure games and with people who'd been doing it even longer than me, like Hal Barwood and Ron Gilbert and Noah Falstein. Just advice about writing, but also the thing I learned by just observing with that studio is that, creatively speaking, you don't make bets on ideas. You make bets on people. And like someone like Lee, it's kind of like, we didn't say, Lee, I want you to make this Lighthouse game. It was like, I think you're the kind of person who could make a great game, so what do you want to do?
I love that. You've also, obviously Double Fine's been around for a cool minute. I imagine you've got, younger staff joining the group. Have you noticed anything about sort of how people's approach to game development has changed? Like you've got,
Well, I think we, younger people and older people who are still alive, think a lot more about taking care of themselves. I think in the early days of video games, we pretty much just tried to kill ourselves with every game that we made. Like, we're just really, worked all night, because that's how we worked in college. When we were studying computer science, you'd be up all night, and it felt good because you're like, oh, I'm going crazy making this thing. And then, even indie game people who don't have anyone telling them they have to finish their game on a schedule, and they will, work themselves to death. And I think there's been a lot more awareness about mental health and things like that, where people are like, hey, why don't you just take a break and take a time off? So we have different things that we, different amounts of time off now. We have like a hiatus program if you've been there for 10 years, which multiple people have now at Double Fine.
That's awesome. People love to talk about Unreal 5, about all the many things he can do, all the incredible stuff, and it's like, I feel like the average layperson doesn't necessarily know what is special about it versus the previous iteration. Is there anything you can say, like, off the top of your head that's like, here's why it's a big deal?
It's shinier. No, it's, I mean, we almost don't want people to think about that because we want people to just like enjoy it as a holistic artistic experience. And it's, I think Lee would say there's a lot of things that the technology does bring you, and but it's also about art direction, just choices. There's a lot of choices you can make about what to put on the screen that makes it look like you use some advanced technology, but it's really just like, in some ways, good balance of contrast and art direction and lighting and things like that. But there are a lot of bells and whistles that you should ask our gameplay, our graphics programmer about, and not me, because I'm really the writer.
I mean, art direction, really, that's a key thing. Finally, people love the Psychonauts docu-series. Is there any plan to do something like that for this game?
Well, I just noticed those guys with the cameras are still hanging out. They're hard to see, but I have to look in the corners of every room I'm in because sometimes they're just there. They're still filming everything we do.
Good to know.
I don't know what it'll turn into.
Good to know. Well, Tim, thank you so much. Always a pleasure. I think you're a keeper. Keeper's out October 17th on Xbox Series and PC. You can go wishlist it right now on the official Gamescom Steam event page, along with any other games that have gotten you. Stop that, you rascal. More Gamescom Studios still to come right here on IGN.